All right, Bandy, number 11, South Carolina. South Carolina's a 4.5-point favorite. The over-under I have is 2 Beamer ball touchdowns, as in non-offensive touchdowns. People kind of lose track of what Beamer ball actually is. Sometimes I feel like people lose track of the fact that defensive touchdowns are also considered Beamer ball touchdowns. Just whoever's on the field can score for you. That's Beamer ball. South Carolina has as many Beamer ball touchdowns as it has offensive touchdowns this year. 4. Or 2 per game. That's why we have that number. They've got to get the offense going because Vandy feasts on turnovers. That's what they did last year. Fun fact, Vandy has a turnover guitar.
I thought we left all that stuff in the past.
In the 2010s?
I feel like the turnover props are a little bit overdone.
To be fair, when you're the program that's just now deciding you want to take football seriously,
they got a lot of catching up to do. You're right. Wait till they hear about the 4s in the fourth quarter that you hold up. That'll blow their minds.
To Vandy's credit, they have done a really good job of being able to thrive in those spots. I think last year, they finished first in FBS in turnover margin. They know they have to win a battle like that. And by the way, that's a Nashville thing. I don't know. When I first saw that, I'm like, turnover guitar? What? That doesn't make Nashville. Yeah. That's it.
But see, what they should have done is gone full bore and go turnover fiddle. Okay, you get a little bit of like a jig going. You got the fiddle going. Now I'm back in. Okay,
I've got a take about the fiddle.
Okay.
Tell me I'm crazy. Okay. Tell me I'm crazy. Anything the saxophone can do, the fiddle can do better. Anything.
Okay.
Put in a fiddle solo instead of a saxophone solo for any song that's ever been created, and that song is upgraded.
I'm gonna have to take that one to the polls here. I'm gonna have to like run some tests on that. I'll get back to you. Okay, I got you.
I think with our demo, that take will be received well. I don't think with all demos that take would be received well.
The obvious answer is sax, man. You think you could do that on a fiddle?
Yeah, you can do anything on a fiddle.
Okay, that's the one I'm gonna test. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So South Carolina's offense, we hit on this a lot in the offseason, and this season has kind of played out as we expected with the Mike Shula takeover and knowing that there's going to be a little bit of trial and error early on. And it's been such a weird start to the season for South Carolina to be able to open on a Sunday and then you get an FCS team, you're on short rest, you have a long weather delay, just weird first couple of weeks for South Carolina. This is a little bit more mainstream, the type of game that they can have normal prep for. You got a home night game against a Vanderbilt team that you blew out last year. You went into their place and you blew them out, yet you're only a 4.5-point favorite for this one at Williams-Brice. Diego Pavia said on Bussin' with the Boys in the offseason that South Carolina was the game he's got circled on his calendar. That's the one that he was looking forward to. I don't blame him because that dude played with basically everyone last year outside of South Carolina and Tennessee, both of whom were essentially called out in that interview. Like, we're going to run Tennessee. South Carolina's a game that I'm looking forward to. Like, that's the way that he operates, right? Like, they wronged him. They have his number at this point. This game means a ton to him because he just was so rarely silenced last year. And even this year, he hasn't really been silenced yet after what he did at Virginia Tech. I find myself going back and forth with this because last year's game in Nashville, we know that Pavia was banged up. We also know it was a much different South Carolina defense. Now, still being led by Clayton White, so schematically it should be really, really similar. They look like they've been able to replace some of those guys very, very well. We're going to find out in a game like this. I'll say that Pavia is going to be better in this game than he was last year. Maybe the Vandy defense is going to be better too. But I think this is one of those games in which Willie B is just rocking from the jump, and it's 14-0 before fans have even stopped singing Sandstorm. Like that could very well be in play. And I think the South Carolina ground game does a lot of the heavy lifting in this one. It's not necessarily a vintage Sellers game, but Oscar Attaway III, man, he's been showing some really nice promise early in the season, kind of as Rasul Faison, the late deciding running back via the NCAA. He's going to take a little bit of time to get going, but I think this ground game is going to have one of those performances in which you're like, oh, they can actually win a meaningful SEC football game with this being the strength. So I think he's going to be the difference, Attaway, in this game. And I think that the offense is able to finish some drives. So I'm going to go with South Carolina to win this 31-21.
I'm actually going to flip that. I like Vandy here.
Everybody likes Vandy. Will, like,
Yeah,
you're in the majority. I think I'm in the minority, and that's why this spread has come down. I think this spread was at like 5.5 or 6 or something like that, but it's continuing to come down.
yeah, I think that it's so I agree with you and see what you were saying about like the disjointed nature of their season. I would argue that this is like the Shane Beamer experience where it's like, okay, you open up against VTech, you get a special teams touchdown in front of your dad and everything, and then you get this weird like HBCU that you're like yelling at your players at halftime, and you come back like this is very much the South Carolina experience. And in this last couple of years, that's been a good thing. That they have played with emotion, they've had that fire in their bellies. Like that can be a good thing. I still need to see it a little bit. I mean, hey, if you're a Nick Harbor appreciator like me, it would be great that he's leading the team in receiving yards. Problem is, he has 3 catches, right? They have not been able to spread the ball around very effectively. And it's not like Vandy has been some world-beating defense. We talked about CJ Hurd, the Sea Snake. I'm just going to keep saying that every time I talk about
It's a
Vandy.
great nickname.
So cool, and I wish
It's
everybody
so
would
cool.
just Google him right now. But the way that they beat Virginia Tech was effectively by leaning on them and making them make mistakes. And I think that that's kind of how you beat South Carolina is that you just stay in the game. I know Williams-Brice, I know Sandstorm. Again, trust me, an LSU fan, that stadium can get really scary, even if they make you play in the broad daylight, which was unfair to them last year, I feel like, in the LSU game. But yeah, night game matters a lot. But I think that to your point, like this game matters a ton to Diego Pavia. It's kind of like, to use another F1 metaphor, but it's like when you're kind of in the midfield of the SEC, these games are the most important, right? Because you can't beat Alabama every year. You can't, and one of these teams did, and the other nearly did last year, right? But you can't count on those games as wins. You have to kind of mentally be like, we're going to have a couple of SEC losses, and a game like this for either team could be the difference between them making a New Year's Six bowl, or in South Carolina's case last year, having a playoff chance, right? And so that being said, I think that the like it is good sometimes to really see real competition in the first couple of weeks. I think that in South Carolina's case, you would have almost rather this season for them to play an AI team like the LIU Sharks, to where the receivers and quarterback could get on the same page and they could kind of get the momentum going. Because the way that they beat Virginia Tech, I don't really think you could replicate that every game. I know Beamer Bowl is a big deal. I get all that, but it's not like Vandy takes a ton of downfield chances. It's not like they're super careless with the football. They are also kind of a lean forward and like fall forward and lean on you style of offense. And I know, Dylan Stewart's awesome. I get all that. I know the ground game has been kind of multifaceted. Lenoris as a rusher hasn't been anything awesome this year. Maybe we see. I think
he had moments against Virginia Tech. He had moments.
But to that point though, like they've had. We talked about Rasul Faison and Attaway. It's I guess a 3-headed rushing attack in the sense that we thought it would be like maybe 1-1A between Rasul and Sellers. And so now it's kind of like, where is the ball going, which could be good. That's a bit of what Vandy did last year. I do think we see a better rushing performance out of Sellers in this game. And I think it'll be a close game. But like I said, in that second half, I just look at what Vandy has been able to do, and that they get better and they start leaning and they start to push and they really believe in themselves. I look at South Carolina and it's like, hey, again, if you see a defensive score, if you see a special team score, they're right in there. Like the boys are getting rowdy. Like we've seen that so many times under Beamer, to the point where we could almost count on it. But it's so hard to predict their games because you just never know when those scores are going to happen. And I think they'll need one in this one.
The spread is low, not just because of Pavia. Vandy showed a lot defensively last week.
Their defense was awesome. Yeah, especially
this was really good. I was impressed with the things that they were doing on the stretch, second half of that game. And that there are going to be a lot of people that assume that Vandy can only win one style. And I think that might be a little bit different this year. Doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden going to win 8 games, but I do think that they're capable of playing in a different type of game, and maybe they're capable of playing in shootout too. Like that's kind of what's been opened up for them, is they were taking some downfield shots. They were like, they're not necessarily afraid to air it out with Pavia. They still are going to rely on him as a runner. I think they've been a little bit conservative even with what they've wanted to do with him as a runner so far. And in a game like this, you're going to make him try and defend you. Clayton White, since the start of last year, has been pretty good against mobile quarterbacks. It's been pretty good. So, I think this game should be awesome. It should be really, really good. Kind of fun that these two teams both feel like they have something on the line in a game like this. Two coaches that started in 2021 and have built these programs kind of in the way that they hoped to be able to at this point in year 5. Will, just to cap our theme of the day, which is AP top 25 teams in true road games,
Mm-hmm.
how rare it is for these teams to get those types of wins. Clark Lee is 0-7 in those contests. Vandy
Okay.
has not won such a game since 2007 at number 6 South Carolina, ironically enough.
Okay.
Yeah, that's which administration?
2007 would be Bush.
The W. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even a bowl season, actually, that year for Vandy.
I was gonna say
Very
that's
weird.
like post the Cutler years. I don't even really know who was at Vandy 2007. That's like a
2007, of
Yeah.
course. Well, 2007, if there's a game like that can happen, I guess that was the year
Sure.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. But yeah, this would be first win, biggest road win for Vandy in 18 years. This would be that would be something. That would be a quite the statement from Diego Pavia. That'll be a very difficult challenge in what will be a hostile atmosphere at Williams-Brice.